The stars had been quiet for 300 years. The Valari Empire had spread across 40 systems, and in all that time, they had never found another intelligent species. They believed they were alone. They believed the universe belonged to them. Commander Rilo stood on the bridge of his flagship. The Eternal Light. He was tall for a Valari, with smooth gray skin and 4 eyes that could see in almost complete darkness. His uniform was white and silver, decorated with medals from campaigns against space pirates and rebel colonies. He had served the Empire for 60 years, and he had never lost a battle. The bridge was quiet. Officers sat at their stations, monitoring the empty space around them. The Valari Border Patrol was boring work. Nothing ever happened here, at the edge of known space. Most commanders would have been annoyed by such a simple assignment. But Rilos liked the peace. He was getting old, and he was tired of war. "Commander," said Lieutenant Kira from her scanning station. She was young, barely 30 years old, with bright yellow eyes that showed her surprise. "I am detecting something strange." Rilos turned to look at her. "What is it?" "Ships, Commander. Unknown ships. They just appeared at the edge of our sensor range." The bridge became silent. Every officer stopped what they were doing and looked at Kira. Unknown ships were impossible. The Valari knew every vessel in this part of space. They built most of them. "How many?" Rilos asked. Kira's fingers moved across her console. Her face became pale. 12 ships, Commander. No, wait, 20 ships. They are still appearing." Rilos walked to the main viewing screen. He pressed a button, and the image changed. Instead of empty stars, he saw shapes. Dark shapes, moving slowly through space. They were far away, but he could see their basic form. They were different from any ship he had ever seen. "Magnify," he ordered. The image grew larger. Now he could see the ships more clearly. They were made of metal, dark gray and black. They had no curves, no elegant lines. They were rough and angular, like weapons rather than vessels. Each ship was covered with strange structures. Rilos did not know what they were. "What are those things on their hulls?" he asked. Kira studied her readings. "They appear to be tubes, Commander. Metal tubes. Hundreds of them. Tubes? For what purpose?" "I do not know, Commander." Rilos felt something he had not felt in many years. It was fear. Not strong fear, just a small feeling in his stomach. These ships were wrong. Everything about them was wrong. "Contact Fleet Command," he ordered. "Tell them we have found unknown vessels. Tell them to send reinforcements." "Yes, Commander," said Communications Officer Telos. He was an older Valari, calm and experienced. But even he looked worried. Rilos watched the strange ships on the screen. There were now 30 of them. They had stopped appearing, and they were holding their position. They were not moving toward the Valari fleet, but they were not running away either. They were just waiting. "Commander," Kira said, "I am picking up signals from the unknown ships. They are trying to communicate. Can you understand them?" "No, Commander. The language is completely unknown. But our computers are working on it." Rilos nodded. First contact with an alien species. This was the moment his people had dreamed about for centuries. The moment they had feared. The moment they had prepared for. He should have felt excited. Instead, he felt cold. How large are these ships? He asked. Kira checked her readings again. Her yellow eyes went wide. They are very large, Commander. The biggest one is almost 3 times the size of the Eternal Light. Rilos stared at the screen. The Eternal Light was one of the largest warships in the Valari fleet. It carried 500 crew members and enough weapons to destroy a small moon. And these strange ships were 3 times bigger. "What about their weapons?" he asked. "Can you identify them?" "I am not sure, Commander. They have those tubes I mentioned. They also have some kind of energy signatures, but they are very weak. Much weaker than our own weapons. This confused Relos. The ships were huge, but their weapons were weak? That made no sense. A ship that size should have enough firepower to destroy planets. Why would anyone build such large vessels with such small guns? Maybe they are not warships, suggested Officer Nari from the tactical station. She was a small Valari with quick hands and a sharp mind. Maybe they are cargo ships. Or colony vessels. Colony vessels do not move in military formation, Rollo said. Look at them. They are organized. They have a leadership in front, and the others are spread out in a defensive pattern. These are warships. The bridge was quiet again. Everyone was thinking the same thing. If these were warships, then they were here for a reason. And that reason might not be friendly. Commander, Tella said. Fleet Command has received our message. They are sending 20 more ships to our position. They will arrive in 6 hours. 6 hours, Rollos repeated. He looked at the alien fleet on the screen. 30 ships, each one massive and strange. His own fleet had only 10 vessels. If these aliens decided to attack, 6 hours would be too long. Order all ships to raise shields, he commanded. Power up weapons. And keep trying to communicate with them. The bridge came alive with activity. Officers shouted orders into their consoles. The lights on the ship changed from soft white to alert red. The eternal light was preparing for battle, but the strange ships did not attack. They just sat there, waiting. One of them, the largest one, began to move forward. It came slowly, carefully, like an animal approaching something it did not understand. The lead ship is advancing, Kira reported. It is sending more signals. I think they want to talk. Relos took a deep breath. His hearts were beating fast. This was the moment that would change everything. Open a channel, he said. Let us hear what they have to say. The screen flickered. Static filled the air. And then a face appeared. It was not a Valari face. It was something else entirely. It had only 2 eyes, and they were looking right at Relos. The creature opened its mouth and made sounds that Relos did not understand. But behind the creature, Relos could see something. He could see the inside of the alien ship. And what he saw made his blood run cold. There were more of them. Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. All wearing the same dark clothing. All carrying objects that looked like weapons. Relos had found an intelligent species. And that species had brought an army. The face on the screen was strange. It had soft skin, not gray like the Valari, but a light brown color. Its eyes were small and dark, and they moved around, looking at everything on the Valari bridge. The creature's mouth kept making sounds, words in a language that meant nothing to Relos. Computer, Relos said. Can you translate? Working, Commander, the ship's computer replied. The language structure is complex but logical. Translation will be ready in approximately 4 minutes. 4 minutes. Relos watched the alien face and wondered what it was thinking. Was it afraid? Was it curious? Was it planning to attack? He could not tell. The creature's expressions were impossible to read. Lieutenant Kira continued her scans. Her fingers moved fast across her console, pulling information from the sensors. With each new reading, her face became more worried. Commander, she said softly, I need to show you something. Relos walked to her station, keeping one eye on the screen where the alien face still waited. What have you found? Kira pointed at her display. It showed a detailed scan of the lead alien ship. The vessel was enormous, almost 2 kilometers long. Its hull was thick and strong, made of some kind of metal alloy that the Valari computers did not recognize. Look at this, Kira said. She zoomed in on one section of the ship. These are life signs, Commander. Raylos looked at the display. He saw small dots, each one representing a living creature inside the alien ship. There were so many dots that they almost filled the entire image. How many? He asked. Kira's voice was quiet. Over 8,000, Commander. Raylos felt his heart stop for a moment. 8,000? On one ship? Yes, Commander. And that is just the lead vessel. The other ships have similar readings. Some have even more. Raylos did the math in his head. 30 ships, each with thousands of crew members. That meant hundreds of thousands of aliens. His entire fleet had less than 5,000 Valari on all 10 ships combined. That is impossible, said Officer Nari from behind them. She had walked over to see the readings. No ship needs 8,000 crew members. The Eternal Light runs perfectly with 500. They are not all crew members, Kira said. She adjusted her sensors, trying to get more information. Look at the internal structure of the ship. It has large open spaces, like storage areas. But the storage areas are full of life signs. Raylos stared at the display. He was beginning to understand, and the understanding filled him with dread. They are not cargo ships, he said slowly. And they are not carrying crew. They are carrying soldiers. The bridge went silent. Every officer turned to look at Raylos. His words hung in the air like a dark cloud. Soldiers? Nari repeated. But why would they need so many soldiers? For invasion, Raylos answered. These ships are designed to carry armies, to land on planets and take them by force. Kira returned to her scans. Her hands were shaking now. Commander, I am detecting more objects inside the ships. Small vessels, hundreds of them. They appear to be landing craft. And there are ground vehicles too. Machines with wheels and armor. Raylos closed his eyes for a moment. The Valari had fought wars before. They had conquered planets and destroyed enemy fleets. But they had always done it from space. They used orbital bombardment, long-range missiles, and energy beams. They never landed on planets to fight. They never sent soldiers to walk on enemy soil. The idea seemed primitive, wasteful, dangerous. Why would anyone risk the lives of their own people when they could destroy enemies from the safety of space? But these aliens did things differently. Commander, the computer said. Translation is complete. I can now understand the alien language. The face on the screen was still waiting. The creature had stopped talking and was now just looking at Raylos with those strange small eyes. Play back what it said, Raylos ordered. The computer made a soft sound, and then a new voice filled the bridge. It was strange, almost mechanical, as the computer translated the alien words. Greetings. I am Admiral Yuna of the Earthship Rising Sun. We come from a planet called Earth, from a species called human. We have been traveling through space for many years, looking for other intelligent life. We are very happy to meet you. The message was friendly. The words were peaceful. But Raylos could not forget what he had seen on the sensors. 8,000 soldiers on each ship. Landing craft. Ground vehicles. This Admiral Yuna spoke of friendship, but she had brought an army. Open a channel, Raylos said. I will respond. The communication officer pressed several buttons. A green light appeared, showing that the channel was open. Raylos straightened his uniform and looked at the screen. Admiral Yuna, I am Commander Raylos of the Valari Empire. We are also pleased to meet you. Your arrival is unexpected. We did not know other intelligent species existed. He paused, choosing his next words carefully. May I ask, what is the purpose of your visit? And why have you brought so many ships? There was a moment of silence as the translation was sent to the alien vessel. Then Admiral Yuna's face changed. Her small mouth curved upward at the corners. Ralos did not know what this expression meant. "Commander Relos," she said through the translator. "We are explorers. We are looking for new worlds to live on, new species to trade with. We bring many ships because space is dangerous. We must protect ourselves." "I understand," Relos said. "But our sensors show that your ships are carrying large numbers of people, many more than needed to operate the vessels." Admiral Yuna's expression did not change. "Yes, we travel with many of our people. Humans do not like to be alone. We bring our families, our communities. It is our way." Families, communities. Ralos wanted to believe her. But those families were wearing uniforms. Those communities were carrying weapons. He had seen them on the screen, standing in perfect rows behind the Admiral. "Commander," Kira whispered from her station, "I am detecting energy signatures from the alien ships. They are powering up their systems." Relos felt his fear grow stronger. "What kind of systems?" "Unknown, Commander. But the energy levels are increasing." On the screen, Admiral Yuna was still smiling. "Commander Relos, we would like to meet with you in person. To talk, to share knowledge, to become friends. Would you allow us to send a small group to your ship?" A small group. From a species that traveled with armies. Relos did not trust this offer. But he also knew that refusing might start a conflict. And his 10 ships could not fight 30. "Let me discuss this with my officers," he said. "Please wait." Admiral Yuna nodded. "Of course. We will wait." The screen went dark, and Relos turned to face his bridge crew. They all looked scared. They had all seen the sensor readings. They all knew what was hiding inside those alien ships. "What do we do, Commander?" Nari asked. "If we let them board us, they could take over the ship. But if we refuse, they might attack." Relos looked out the window at the distant alien fleet. 30 dark shapes, each one full of soldiers. Each one a threat. "We need more information," he said. "Kira, I want you to scan those ships again. Find out everything you can about their weapons, their defenses, their weak points. If we have to fight, I want to know how to win." "Yes, Commander," Kira said. Relos sat down in his command chair. His bones felt heavy. His heart beat too fast. First contact was supposed to be a moment of wonder. Instead, it had become a moment of terror. And somewhere deep inside him, Ralos knew that this was only the beginning. Lieutenant Kira worked through the night. Her eyes were tired, and her fingers hurt from typing, but she did not stop. The scans revealed more secrets with each passing hour, and each secret was more terrifying than the last. Commander Relos stood behind her, watching the data appear on her screen. He had not slept either. He could not sleep. Not with those alien ships sitting out there, waiting. "Tell me what you have found," he said. Kira took a deep breath. "Commander, I have completed a full analysis of the alien vessels. The results are troubling." She pressed a button, and a detailed image appeared on the main screen. It showed one of the human ships from the inside, like a cutaway diagram. "The ships are divided into sections," she explained. "The front section contains the command bridge, navigation systems, and living quarters for the senior officers. This is where Admiral Yuna and her commanders stay." She pointed to the middle of the ship. "The center section is the largest. It contains barracks, training areas, armories, and storage. This is where the soldiers live." "How many soldiers exactly?" Relos asked. "In this ship alone, approximately 8,400. "But Commander, that is not the most concerning part." She zoomed in on the storage areas. The image showed rows and rows of small vehicles lined up perfectly. "These are their landing craft. Each one can carry 50 soldiers. The ship has 200 of these craft. That means they can deploy 10,000 soldiers to a planet's surface in a single wave. Relos felt sick. 10,000 soldiers, dropping from the sky, landing on cities and villages, fighting in the streets. What about weapons? He asked. Kira changed the image. Now it showed close-up scans of the human soldiers. Each soldier carries a personal weapon. It fires small metal projectiles at very high speed. The projectiles are not energy-based like our weapons. They are physical objects. Solid metal. Primitive, Officer Nari said. She had joined them at the scanning station. Our energy shields can stop metal projectiles easily. Yes, Kira agreed. But Commander, look at this. She showed another image. This one was of the tubes that covered the outside of the human ships. I finally understand what these are, Kira said. They are weapons. Very large weapons. They also fire metal projectiles, but much bigger ones. Some of them are explosive. Some of them travel at speeds close to light. Our shields can still stop them, Nari insisted. One at a time, yes, Kira said. But each ship has over 500 of these tubes. If they all fire at once, they could launch thousands of projectiles in seconds. Our shields might hold. Or they might not. Rallo studied the images carefully. The human weapons were not advanced. They did not use energy beams or plasma technology. They were crude, simple, and brutal. But there were so many of them. What about their ship defenses? He asked. Do they have shields? Kira shook her head. No, Commander. That is the strange part. The human ships have no energy shields at all. Their only protection is their hull, which is very thick and made of strong metal. No shields? Nari was surprised. Then we can destroy them easily with our weapons. Perhaps, Kira said. But there is something else. She brought up a new set of readings. These showed damage patterns on the human hulls. These ships have been in battle before, Commander. You can see the marks on their hulls. Burns, dense impact craters. But they are still flying. They are still functional. The humans do not retreat when their ships are damaged. They keep fighting. Rallo's thought about this. Valari ships were designed to be fast and elegant. When shield failed, a Valari captain would retreat and repair. They did not believe in fighting to the death. War was a game of strategy, not sacrifice. But these humans were different. They built ships that could take damage and keep going. They accepted that their vessels would be hit. They expected it. They planned for it. Show me their command structure, Rallo's ordered. Kira pulled up communications intercepts. The computer had been translating human messages for hours, building a picture of how their fleet operated. The lead ship, the Rising Sun, is commanded by Admiral Yuna. She appears to be in charge of the entire fleet. Under her are several captains, each commanding their own vessel. Images of human faces appeared on screen. They all had the same soft skin and small eyes as Admiral Yuna, but some had different features. Some were male, some female. Some had light skin, some had dark skin. This is Captain Hyan, Kira said, pointing to one face. He commands the ship called Iron Mountain. Our intercepts suggest he is the Admiral's second in command. Captain Hyan had a hard face. His eyes were narrow, and his mouth was set in a firm line. He looked like a man who had seen many battles. And this is Lieutenant Mina. She is in charge of ground forces on the Rising Sun. Lieutenant Mina was young, with long dark hair tied behind her head. But her eyes were sharp, and she stood straight and tall in her uniform. She looked ready to fight. Ground forces, Rallos repeated. Tell me more about them. Kira brought up video footage. The humans have been broadcasting signals that the Valari computers could intercept and decode. The footage showed human soldiers training inside their ships. Relos watched in silence. The soldiers ran through obstacle courses. They practiced fighting with their hands and feet. They shot targets with their metal weapons. They worked together in small teams, moving quickly and efficiently. They trained constantly, Kira said. Every day, for hours. They practiced combat in all environments. Low gravity, high gravity, underwater, underground. They prepare for every situation. But why? Nari asked. Why would anyone train so hard to fight on the ground? Space battles are won in space, not on planets. Rylos understood now. He understood what made the humans so different, so dangerous. Because they want the planets, he said quietly. They do not want to just win battles. They want to win worlds. They want to land, to conquer, to stay. He turned to face his officers. The Valari fight wars to protect our territory, to destroy threats. But the humans fight wars to take things, to claim them, to own them. Kira nodded slowly. The data supports this, Commander. Their ships are not designed for quick raids or defensive patrols. They are designed for long campaigns. They carry enough supplies to fight for months without returning home. How long exactly? Relos asked. Kira checked her readings. Based on their storage capacity and crew size, the Rising Sun could operate independently for approximately 1 year. 1 year. A human fleet could leave their home world, travel across the galaxy, and wage war for an entire year without needing supplies. They were not explorers. They were not traders. They were conquerors. Commander, Officer Tella said from the communication station. Admiral Yuna is sending another message. She wants to know if we have made a decision about the meeting. Rylos looked at the screen. The human fleet sat in the darkness of space, patient and quiet. 30 ships full of soldiers, weapons, and landing craft. An invasion force, waiting for orders. And somewhere in that fleet, Admiral Yuna was smiling. Rylos did not know what to do. He could refuse the meeting and hope the humans would go away. But they would not go away. They had traveled too far, brought too many soldiers. They wanted something, and they would not leave until they got it. Or he could accept the meeting. Let the humans come aboard. Try to understand them, to negotiate with them. It was dangerous, but it might be the only way to avoid war. Tell Admiral Yuna, Rylos said slowly, that we accept her offer. One small group may come to the eternal light, but they must come unarmed. Tell us sent the message. A few minutes later, the reply came. Admiral Yuna agrees to your terms, Commander. She will come personally with 3 advisors. They will bring no weapons. Rylan nodded. But deep inside, he knew that it did not matter if the humans brought weapons or not. Their entire fleet was a weapon. Every soldier, every ship, every landing craft. The Valari Empire had finally met another intelligent species. And that species was built for war. The human shuttle was small and ugly. It had no elegant curves, no smooth lines. It was a box of metal with engines attached, designed for function rather than beauty. It landed in the Eternal Light's docking bay with a heavy thump that shook the floor. Commander, Rylos waited with a group of guards. They stood in a line, weapons ready but not raised. He had ordered them to be respectful. Respectful? These were guests, not enemies. At least, not yet. The shuttle door opened with a hiss of air. 4 figures stepped out. They were shorter than Rylos had expected, barely reaching his shoulder. But they walked with confidence, their backs straight and their heads high. Admiral Yuna was in front. She wore a dark blue uniform covered with small decorations. Her black hair was cut short and her face showed no fear. Behind her came 3 others, 2 males and 1 female. Commander Rylos, Admiral Yuna said. Her voice was calm and steady. A small device on her collar translated her words into Valari language. Thank you for receiving us. This is a historic moment. Relos bowed his head slightly. Admiral Yuna, welcome to the Eternal Light. I hope your journey was comfortable. It was. Your docking bay is impressive. Much larger than ours. There was something strange in her voice. Was it admiration? Or was she measuring the eternal light, looking for weaknesses? Relos could not tell. Please follow me, he said. We have prepared a meeting room. He led the humans through the corridors of the ship. They walked slowly, looking at everything. Their eyes moved constantly, studying the walls, the doors. The Valari crew members who stood aside to let them pass, one of the human males, a young man with a round face and curious eyes, spoke quietly to Admiral Yuna. The translator picked up his words. Their technology is advanced, Admiral. Look at the lighting systems. And the gravity generators must be very precise. I can barely feel the ship moving. Admiral Yuna nodded but said nothing. She kept her eyes on Relos. They reached the meeting room. It was a large space with a round table in the center, surrounded by comfortable chairs. Windows on one side showed the stars outside and the distant shapes of the human fleet. Please sit, Relos said. The humans took their seats. Relos sat across from Admiral Yuna, with his officers on either side. For a moment, no one spoke. They just looked at each other, two species meeting for the first time. I will be honest with you, Admiral, Relos said finally. Your arrival has caused concern among my people. Your fleet is large, and our sensors have detected many things that worry us. Admiral Yuna's expression did not change. What things, Commander? Your ships carry thousands of soldiers, landing craft, ground vehicles, weapons designed for planetary warfare. Relos paused. You say you come in peace, but you come prepared for war. There was a long silence. Admiral Yuna looked at the other humans, then back at Relos. Slowly, she nodded. You are right, Commander. We are prepared for war. Humanity has learned, through painful experience, that the universe is not always friendly. We hope to find allies among the stars, but we also prepared for the possibility of finding enemies. And which are we? Relos asked. Allies or enemies? That depends on you, Admiral Yuna said simply. Lieutenant Mina, the young woman who commanded ground forces, leaned forward. She had been quiet until now, but her eyes were bright with intelligence. Commander Relos, she said. May I speak freely? Relos nodded. Humans have a long history, Mina said. We have fought many wars on our home world. Wars between nations, wars between ideas, wars for resources and territory. We have seen the worst that intelligent beings can do to each other. She paused, choosing her words carefully. When we finally left Earth and traveled to the stars, we hoped things would be different. We hoped we would find peace. But we also knew that if we found other species, some of them might be hostile. Some of them might want to destroy us. Relos listened carefully. The young woman spoke with passion, but also with sadness. So we built ships that could fight, Mina continued. We trained soldiers who could protect our people. We prepared for the worst, while hoping for the best. This is not aggression, Commander. This is survival. Captain Hyan, the hard-faced man who served as Admiral Yuna's second-in-command, spoke next. His voice was deep and rough. Your empire controls 40 star systems, he said. You have thousands of ships, millions of citizens. You are powerful and safe. But humanity has only one home, one planet. If we lose it, we lose everything. He pointed out the window at the human fleet. Those ships represent our future, Commander. Our hope. We sent them into the unknown, not knowing what they would find. They found you. And now, we must decide together what happens next. Rello sat back in his chair. He had expected the humans to be aggressive, to make demands, to threaten. Instead, they spoke of fear and hope, of survival and peace. It was not what he had imagined. "You say you want peace," he said. "But how can we trust you? How can we be sure that your soldiers will not attack our worlds?" Admiral Una smiled. It was a small smile, sad and tired. "Commander, I will tell you a secret about humans. We are not a united species. On Earth, we have hundreds of nations, thousands of languages, millions of different beliefs. We argue constantly. We disagree about everything." She leaned forward. "But there is one thing we all agree on. We want to survive. We want our children to have a future. We want to build, to grow, to explore. If you offer us friendship, we will accept it. If you offer us trade, we will trade. If you offer us peace, we will be peaceful." She paused. "But if you attack us, Commander, we will fight. Not because we want to, but because we must. And we will not stop fighting until the threat is gone." Rello looked into her eyes. They were small and strange, but he could see the truth in them. This woman was not lying. She was not hiding her intentions. She was telling him exactly what humanity was, a species that wanted peace, but was ready for war. "We do not want war," Rello said quietly. "The Valari Empire has had enough of conflict. We've spent 300 years building our civilization, and we do not want to see it destroyed." Admiral Una nodded. "Then we understand each other." "Perhaps," Rello said. "But understanding is not the same as trust. Your fleet is powerful. Your soldiers are many. How do I know you will keep your word?" Lieutenant Mina answered. "You will know because we will prove it. Let us work together. Share information. Trade goods. Visit each other's worlds. Over time, trust will grow." It sounded reasonable. It sounded hopeful. But Relos had seen the scan results. He knew what was hidden inside those human ships. Could he really trust a species that traveled with armies? The meeting continued for several hours. They discussed borders, trade routes, communication protocols. They talked about their histories, their cultures, their dreams for the future. The humans were curious about everything, asking endless questions about Valari technology, society, and politics. By the end, Rello felt exhausted. But he also felt something else, something unexpected. He felt hope that maybe the humans were telling the truth. Maybe they really did want peace. Maybe this could be the beginning of something good. As Admiral Una and her group prepared to leave, she stopped at the door and turned back. "Commander Relos," she said, "thank you for listening. I know our arrival was frightening. I know our ships look like weapons of war. But I promise you, we did not come here to conquer." "Then why did you bring soldiers?" Relos asked. Admiral Una smiled again. "Because, Commander, humans have learned one important lesson from our history. Peace is not given. It is earned. And sometimes, the only way to earn peace is to be strong enough that no one wants to fight you." She bowed her head and walked away. Relos watched the human shuttle depart. He thought about her words. Strength for peace. It was a strange idea. But maybe, just maybe, it was true. The Valari High Council met in emergency session. 20 of the most powerful leaders in the Empire gathered in a great hall on their home world. Holographic screens showed the human fleet, still waiting at the border. Commander Relos stood before them, ready to give his report. Supreme Chancellor Voris sat at the head of the table. He was very old, with gray skin that had become almost white with age. His 4 eyes were cloudy but still sharp. He had ruled the Empire for 100 years, and he had never faced a crisis like this. "Commander Relos," Vorus said. "Tell us everything." Relos bowed and began his report. He told them about the first contact, the scans, the meeting with Admiral Una. He showed them images of the human ships and their terrible cargo. He played recordings of his conversations with the human leaders. When he finished, the council was silent. The old leaders looked at each other with fear in their eyes. "This is a threat to our very existence," said Councillor Breck. He was a military commander, famous for his aggressive tactics. "We must strike now, before they grow stronger. Destroy their fleet while we have the chance. Are you mad?" Councillor Sella responded. She was in charge of trade and diplomacy. "You saw the scan results. Even if we destroy this fleet, there are more humans on their home world. Millions, perhaps billions. They would send more ships, more soldiers. We would be starting a war we cannot win. Then what do you suggest?" Breck demanded. "We welcome them with open arms? Let them bring their armies into our space?" The argument continued for hours. Some councillors wanted war. Some wanted peace. Some wanted to hide and hope the humans would go away. No one could agree. Finally, Supreme Chancellor Vorus raised his hand. The room went silent. "Commander Alos," he said, "you have spoken with these humans. You have looked into their eyes. Tell me honestly, what do you believe they want?" Relos took a deep breath. This was the most important moment of his life. His answer could determine the fate of his entire species. "Supreme Chancellor," he said, "I believe the humans are telling the truth. They want peace. They want trade. They want friendship. But they are also afraid. They come from a harsh world where survival was never guaranteed. They have learned to be strong because they had to be." He paused. "The humans are not like us. They do not fight from orbit, safely distant from danger. They fight face to face, hand to hand. They are willing to die for their people, for their worlds, for their beliefs. This makes them terrifying, but it also makes them honest." Chancellor Vorus nodded slowly. "Go on. If we attack them," Relos continued, "they will fight back. And they will not stop. They will send more ships, more soldiers. They will come to our worlds, not to destroy them from space, but to take them. To walk on our streets, to fight in our cities. They are prepared for this kind of war. We are not." Councillor Breck scoffed. "You are afraid of them." "Yes," Relos admitted. "I am afraid. Any intelligent being would be afraid of a species that fights the way humans fight. But fear is not a reason for war. Fear is a reason for wisdom." He looked around the council chamber. The humans could have attacked us without warning. They have the numbers, the weapons, the willingness to fight. But instead, they came to talk. They offered friendship. They told us about themselves, their history, their fears. This is not the behavior of conquerors. This is the behavior of survivors who want allies. The council murmured among themselves. Even Councillor Breck looked uncertain. Chancellor Vorus turned to look at the holographic image of the human fleet. 30 dark ships hanging in the void like silent predators. Inside those ships were creatures who would personally charge into battle, who would die fighting rather than surrender. "Commander Relos," the Chancellor said, "what do you recommend?" Relos straightened his uniform. "I recommend peace, Supreme Chancellor. Not because we are weak, but because war would cost us more than we can afford. The humans are offering us an alliance. We should accept it. And if they betray us?" Councillor Breck asked. "Then we will have learned something important," Relos said. "But I do not believe they will. Humans value loyalty. They remember those who helped them and those who hurt them. If we become their friends, they will protect us. If we become their enemies, they will never forgive us." The debate continued for many more hours. But slowly, the council began to see the truth. The humans were not a threat to be destroyed. They were a force to be understood, to be respected, to be allied with. Finally, Chancellor Voris made his decision. "We will accept the human offer of friendship," he announced. "We will open diplomatic relations, establish trade agreements, and learn about each other. This is the beginning of a new era for the Valari Empire." The message was sent to Admiral Yuna. Her response came quickly. "On behalf of the people of Earth, I thank you for your trust. We look forward to a long and peaceful relationship. Together, our species can achieve great things." On the bridge of the Eternal Light, Commander Relos watched the message play. He felt relief wash over him. The crisis was over. War had been avoided. Lieutenant Kira stood beside him. "Commander, do you really think we can trust them?" Relos thought about the question. He remembered Admiral Yuna's eyes, Lieutenant Mina's passion, Captain Hyan's words about survival. He remembered the images of human soldiers training, preparing for battles they hoped would never come. "I do not know," he admitted. "But I know one thing. The humans are strong. They are brave. And they are looking for friends in a cold and dangerous universe. If we give them friendship, they will remember. If we give them loyalty, they will return it." He turned to face his officer. "The Valari have always believed that advanced species should avoid physical conflict. We fight from space, from safety, from distance. We thought this made us superior. But the humans have shown us something different." "What is that, Commander?" Relos looked out at the stars. "They have shown us that true strength is not about avoiding danger. It is about facing danger for the people you love. The humans are willing to fight and die for each other, for their families, for their species. This is not primitive. This is powerful." In the following months, the two species began to learn from each other. Valari scientists visited human ships and studied their technology. Human diplomats came to Valari worlds and learned about their culture. Trade routes were established. Friendships were formed. But the most important change was in the Valari themselves. They began to understand that the universe was bigger and more complex than they had imagined. There were other species out there, other civilizations, other ways of thinking, and among all of them, the humans stood apart. A species that had faced extinction many times and survived. A species that carried armies wherever they went, not because they wanted war, but because they were determined to live. Commander Relos was promoted to Admiral. He spent the rest of his career building the alliance between humans and Valari. He became famous as the first Valari to meet humanity, the one who chose peace over war. Years later, when asked about that first meeting, he always gave the same answer. "When we scanned those human ships, we found something that terrified us. Thousands of soldiers, weapons, landing craft. We thought we had found our doom. But we were wrong. We had found our salvation." He would smile, an expression he had learned from the humans. "The humans taught us that strength and peace are not enemies. They are partners. And together, we are stronger than we ever were alone." The stars were no longer quiet. They were full of voices, of ships, of life. And among all the species that traveled between the worlds, humans and Valari stood together. Friends, allies, family. The scanners had found something that terrified them. But in the end, that terror had become hope. And hope, as the humans liked to say, was the most powerful force in the universe.